Happy Memorial Day weekend. Thank you so much for joining us for this online version of Westbridge Church. I just want to mention a couple of things as we get started with the service today. One, I just want to say thank you to all of our volunteers. Taking off this weekend is always a great way to remind ourselves of all of the things that our volunteers do each and every weekend. And so this is a great opportunity to take some time off, relax with family, enjoy the beautiful Minnesota weather. And I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do each and every week. Secondly, just as a reminder, right after this weekend, we jump into our summer schedule. And so beginning this next week, we will have services beginning Thursday at 7 p.m. and Sundays at 9 and 10:30. I hope that you'll make plans to join us for our summer schedule. Have an amazing Memorial Day weekend and enjoy the service.
Oh, I can't stop singing of how good you are, how your love lifted me out of the dark. There was no way that I could make it this far without your love, Jesus, holding my heart. So I'll say thank you for all that you've done. Your grace, love, and mercy are more than enough. You didn't stop there, and you won't stop now. So thank you from this grateful heart. Oh, I can't stop singing, 'cause every time I fail, your grace, love, and mercy show you never will. What a cross where you died for me. You buried all my shame. Now I'm alive and free to say thank you for all that you've done. Your grace, love, and mercy are more than enough. You didn't stop there, and you won't stop now. So thank you from this grateful heart, 'cause you have been so good to me. Don't know where else would I be without your faithfulness. Again and again, again and again, you have been so good to me. Don't know where else would I be without your faithfulness. Again and again, 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 again and again. I'll say thank you for all that you've done. Your grace, love, and mercy are more than enough. You didn't stop there, and you won't stop now. So thank you from this grateful heart. I'll say thank you for all that you've done. Your grace, love, and mercy are more than enough. You didn't stop there, and you won't stop now. So thank you from this grateful heart. You didn't stop there, and you won't stop now. Thank you from this grateful heart.
Welcome everyone to Westbridge Online Memorial Weekend. If you are a first-time guest with us today, welcome. If you want to learn more about Westbridge, download the Westbridge app. We've got a button called 5 and 5 on the app where you can discover 5 things about Westbridge in 5 minutes or less. You can also follow along with today's talk on the app or find out what's coming up at Westbridge. If you'd like to give today, you can do that on the app, or you can also give by text. Just text any dollar amount to 84321 to get started. As we move to the next part of our service, we want you to know that Westbridge is intentional about creating welcoming environments for everyone. So no matter what your relationship with God is or isn't, we are so glad you're here. Enjoy the service.
On Memorial Day, we honor and remember the men and women who died in military service to this country. Memorial Day reminds us that freedom isn't free, that freedom has a cost. America loves Memorial Day because we still believe in remembering courage, honoring sacrifice, and telling stories of heroes who gave everything. There are many different ways to remember and honor those who paid the ultimate price. Some hang flags or attend ceremonies or parades. Some visit memorials. There's several famous memorials across the United States that serve as lasting reminders and tributes to fallen soldiers. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is one. It honors unidentified service members from World War I and World War II, Korea, and the Vietnam Wars. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial is a beautiful black granite wall with etched over 58,000 names of those who died in the Vietnam War. The World War II Memorial commemorates the 16 million who served during World War II and the over 400,000 who died. Memorials give us a place to remember, a place to reflect, and a place to grieve. They help us to remember and to honor the people who paid the highest price for our freedoms. A memorial is a way to say, you are remembered and you are not forgotten. This Memorial Day got me thinking about different memorials that are found throughout the Old Testament. There are some that you've heard of, and there's some that you might not have heard of. There's one in Genesis 28. It's where Jacob sets up a stone at a place called Bethel. He did this to remember God's promises. Promises that this land would be given to him and his descendants, and that there would be many descendants, and that God would always be there to protect him. Another memorial is found in Joshua chapter 4. Joshua sets up 12 stones after crossing the Jordan River, and he did this to remember God's deliverance and God's faithfulness, as well as God's power. These memorials served as a physical reminder of God's promises and his faithfulness to his people. But there's another one I want to focus on this morning, and it's found in 1 Samuel chapter 7. It's the story of Samuel. He was the last of the judges. Judges in the Old Testament were great leaders who were raised up by God to deliver Israel from oppression. Many of the judges were great warriors, winning battles and defeating enemies. But Samuel was different. He was not a warrior like the previous judges. He was more than just a judge. He was a prophet, a priest-like intercessor, and a national reformer. At this time, Israel was trapped in the cycle of sinning. They would turn away from God. That would lead to oppression and being conquered by their enemies. Then they would eventually cry out to God. He would hear them, and he would send a judge to save them. And then there would be peace. Peace until the cycle began again. Now, the story of Samuel is about how just one man can turn the hearts of a nation back to God. So let's start at the beginning of Samuel's life. I'll set the scene, and to save time, I'll do a quick summary of the first 6 chapters of Samuel. The story of Samuel actually starts before Samuel was even born. It's a dark time spiritually for Israel. They are under constant threat of the Philistines, and Israel has turned away from God. Samuel's mother, Hannah, was barren, and she had prayed for a miracle to have a child. And she promised that if God answered her prayers, that she would dedicate this child to him. Well, God answered her prayers. Samuel, the miracle baby, was born. Hannah knew that he was a gift. The name Samuel actually means God has heard. Hannah keeps her promise and she dedicates Samuel to God. Hannah leaves Samuel with the priest to be raised in the tabernacle, which is basically a portable church where God's presence was. In the tabernacle was the Ark of the Covenant. Think back to the documentary of Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. The Ark was a symbol of God's presence and victory. The Ark was where Israel had crossed the Jordan and was there when they defeated Jericho. The Ark contained the 10 Commandments, a staff, and a jar of manna. These items symbolize the law. They symbolize the chosen priesthood and God's provision. In the tabernacle was some corrupt priests who were abusing their positions and using their power. But Samuel served God faithfully. It says that he grew in wisdom and stature and favor with God and men. God was preparing Samuel to be the faithful leader that would replace the corrupt system. So God calls Samuel and he tells him that judgment is coming for these corrupt priests. Israel decides to bring the Ark of the Covenant into battle against the Philistines, and they suffer a loss. 4,000 men lose their life in that battle. Soon after that, there was another battle, and this time Israel suffers a massive defeat against the Philistines. This time 30,000 men die, including the corrupt priests. And to make things even worse, the Philistines capture the Ark of the Covenant. The Philistines bring the ark back to their camp, and there it brings plagues and sickness upon the Philistines. It also humiliates their false god Dagon, and then they decide we shouldn't have this anymore, and they return it to Israel. So this is what is leading up to 1 Samuel chapter 7. The stage has been set. Remember, Israel has suffered huge losses. They've lost a lot of men. They've also lost the ark. So in 1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 2, it says this: "During that time, all Israel mourned because it seemed the Lord had abandoned them. They had forgotten about the memorials. They had forgotten about Jacob and Joshua. They had forgotten about God's deliverance, his faithfulness, and his power." If we're honest with ourselves today, don't we do the same thing? We do our own thing. We wander around going away from God and doing our own thing. We forget who has helped us get to where we are. And when our backs are finally up against the wall, when all hope is gone, we think God must have abandoned us. But the truth is, we were the ones who walked away from God. He never walked away from us. The story continues in verse 3. "Then Samuel said to all the people of Israel, 'If you want to return to the Lord with all your hearts, get rid of the foreign gods and your images of Ashtoreth. Turn your hearts to the Lord and obey him. Then he will rescue you from the Philistines.' So the Israelites got rid of all their images of Baal and Ashtoreth and worshipped only the Lord. Then Samuel told them, 'Gather all of Israel to Mizpah. I will pray to the Lord for you.' So they gathered at Mizpah, and in a great ceremony drew water from a well and poured it out before the Lord. They also went without food all day and confessed that they had sinned against the Lord." Now there is something that stood out to me. I understand getting rid of the false gods and praying and fasting, but I wondered, what is the significance of pouring out of the water? It's such a small detail in that story that you could almost miss it, so I'm going to read it again. "They drew water from a well and poured it out before the Lord." Mitzvah, I learned, is a desert climate. Temperatures can soar easily over 100 degrees. And it's a very dry region. They receive less than 2 inches of rainfall in a year. And this means that water is life. Pouring out water could actually mean death for the Israelites. Pouring out water showed complete dependence on God. This was a sacrifice. They were showing that they needed God's mercy and forgiveness more than they needed water to live. The people were broken over their sin. Their hearts were ready to come back. Again, pouring out water showed complete surrender and repentance. It was a total act of surrender. Once they pour out this water, they can't get it back. It's gone forever. Pouring out the water was also like shedding tears, a visible way of showing sorrow to God. So they cry out to God. They're praying, they're fasting. The Israelites are getting their hearts right. They are repenting for wandering away from God. They are taking all the right steps. They are checking all the right boxes. They've also, though, been without food, been without water in the desert, and they are physically weak at this moment. So the story continues in verse 7. It says, when the Philistine rulers heard that Israel had gathered at Mizpah, they mobilized their army and advanced. The Israelites were badly frightened when they learned that the Philistines were approaching. Don't stop pleading with the Lord our God to save us from the Philistines, they begged Samuel. So Samuel took a young lamb and offered it to the Lord as a whole burnt offering. He pleaded with the Lord to help Israel, and the Lord answered him. Just as Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines arrived to attack Israel. But the Lord spoke with a mighty voice of thunder from heaven that day, and the Philistines were thrown into such confusion that the Israelites defeated them. The men of Israel chased them from Mizpah to a place below Bethkar, slaughtering them along the way. So the Philistines had heard that the Israelites were gathering, and they see this as a chance to defeat them once and for all. They see no army, no weapons, no food, no water, just people praying, and so they surround them. Now imagine if you're an Israelite. You know the cycle. You turn away from God, you get oppressed by your enemies, you cry out to God, the judge shows up to save them, and then there's peace. Well, they have their judge Samuel. They know that the next step is peace. But when they open their eyes and they look around, they see that they are surrounded by their enemies. They are weak and defenseless. They are trapped and desperate. But again, in verse 10 it says, but the Lord spoke with a mighty voice of thunder from heaven that day, and the Philistines were thrown into such confusion that the Israelites defeated them. Sometimes God's voice is a quiet whisper. Sometimes it's a feeling. Sometimes it's a mighty thunder. Thunder in the Bible often signals God's power and God's presence. It shows his children that he is close, that he has heard their prayers, that he has forgiven them, and that he will fight for them, and that he's in control of the battle. God showed up in that moment, not just to forgive them, but to fight for them. So then comes 1 Samuel 7, verse 12. It says, Samuel then took a large stone, and he placed it between the towns of Mizpah and Jeshanah. He named it Ebenezer, which means the stone of help. For he said, up till this point, the Lord has helped us. Now, why would Samuel do that? Why not just celebrate the victory and move on? It's because Samuel knew that the Israelites were forgetful people. They were back then just like we are today. Life moves fast, struggles come quick, and at times we forget how God has helped us and what he has already done for us. That stone was much more than just a rock. It was a memorial. It was a reminder for those who were there that day and for everyone who would see it from years to come. It was a reminder to never forget, to think back and to remember. To remember a time when they were lost, hopeless, surrounded by their enemies and had no way out. That in their most desperate moment, God showed up and he helped. He saved and he brought them through. This Ebenezer, this monument, this marker, was a reminder of exactly that to everyone who saw it. There's this hymn I grew up singing at church. It's called Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. It was written by Robert Robertson. He was born in 1735 in England. He was orphaned at a young age and he fell into a wrong crowd. The story goes that he showed up to a revival meeting with famous preacher George Whitefield, His goal was to disrupt the meeting, but he ended up giving his life to Jesus. And at only age 22, he penned one of the most beloved hymns in church history, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." He wrote powerful, authentic lyrics like "Prone to Wander," which remind us that even when we wander, God's grace and His mercy will be there for us. In that hymn, he also wrote, "Here I raise my Ebenezer." It comes directly from the story of Samuel. And Ebenezer is a memorial, a reminder, a marker to remember how God has showed up and helped us so far. Just like the Israelites, we need memorials too. We all go through seasons, and it can be easy to forget. So we need to take time and intentionally pause. Take time to remember how God has helped us through our dark and hopeless seasons. Reminders of how He showed up, sometimes with a whisper and sometimes with a mighty thunder, but always in the exact right time, in the exact right way. We all need personal Ebenezers that say, "God has helped me here and He's carried me through." Your Ebenezer could be many things. It could be a picture, it could be a place, or a story that you tell. It could be a verse highlighted in your Bible, or a prayer you wrote and tucked away somewhere. A reminder that God has helped you this far. It could be something in nature like thunder that reminds you of how your Heavenly Father will show up and fight for you. It could be a diagnosis, a limp, or a scar. A physical reminder that you're still here, and that means God's not done with you yet. It could be a symbol like a cross that reminds you of what Jesus did for you. It could be water that reminds you of your decision to be baptized. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm sitting in the field next to our church. This building is an Ebenezer. It's a memorial of how God has showed up and helped us so far. When you think about it, 12 people in a basement 18 years ago should not be outgrowing this building and planning for a phase 2. The only way that happens is unless God has helped us so far. I once asked Jeremiah, how come we never sing my favorite hymn, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing"? And he looked at me and was very honest, and he said, "We never will." People who are new to their faith, people who didn't grow up in churches singing hymns, they might be confused and wonder why we're singing about Ebenezer Scrooge. So he said, we'll never sing it because it would take too long to explain it. Well, I just explained it. So this is just another reason why here at Westbridge we try really hard to never say never. Ryan, Jackie, Layton are going to lead us in one more song, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." During this last song, I want you to take a minute and think back. Back to a hopeless place or a hopeless season you were in. Back to a time where you felt surrounded and couldn't see a way out. But then God showed up and He helped. You might still be in that dark and hopeless season. And if you are, I want to challenge you to do what the Israelites did. Make sure your heart is right with God. Pray, fast. Ask your Heavenly Father to show up, and He will, in the exact right time, in the exact right way. You might have gone through that dark and hopeless season. And I want today then to be a reminder to you of God showing up and helping you through it. And if He did it then, He'll do it again. Remember your Ebenezer. There's this beautiful thing that happens when you look back and you remember how God has helped you through. You can use that Ebenezer to show others how God helped you through that helpless and hopeless season. I know you're all watching online, hopefully at a cabin with your toes in the water somewhere. But my challenge to you, those at home, is to share your Ebenezer moment in the comments below as this last song plays. So I'm going to share one of mine before we go. My youngest daughter, Everly Joy, man, She lives up to that name. She lights up every room she walks into. She's always laughing and smiling and making friends. She's been that way her entire life. She loved preschool and she was loving kindergarten. But a few months into kindergarten, overnight, something changed. My sweet, happy, joyful girl changed into a bundle of anxiety and emotion. Mornings became battles. Bedtimes were a struggle. She hadn't slept well, which made everything worse. And it did get pretty bad. And my wife Ashley and I, we threw everything at it. Slowly but surely, the good days started to outnumber the bad. And when summer came, our joyful Everly joy was back. We were cautiously optimistic that the anxiety was gone, but we still held our breath as this last school year started. Now, we had our fair share of setbacks early on. I'm so thankful for teachers and principals who love on our kids and are there for them. But now the good days have drastically outweighed the few and far between bad days. I don't know how much anxiety will be part of her story. I don't. But my wife and I have been building an Ebenezer for our daughter since September 5th. A reminder of just how far she's come and that God has helped her through. Everly loves her morning routines. Our morning is I get her up, I get her dressed and fed. I drive her to school and we laugh and talk along the way. Right before we get to school and she gets out, we take a picture together. And we've done that every single day of school this year to this point. Here's one of the things I love about my daughter, Everly. She's gone through something difficult, through something hard. And again, the good days far outweigh the bad. But she uses what she's gone through to help her friends. She came home from school a couple months ago and she told me the story about one of her friends was sitting at her desk crying. And so she went up to her and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And her friend looked at her and said, "I really miss my mom." And Evie put her arm around her and said, "I know what that's like and I can help." That's not too bad for a first grader. So, remember, as this final song plays, one person who remembers that God can show up and help, can change the entire trajectory of their family, of their city, of their country. And I want you to think about that and never forget that. Never forget that up to this point, the Lord has helped us and He won't stop now. So if you feel led, please share your Ebenezer moment in the comments as we listen to this last song. Thank you for joining us today.